Welcome back to React and MoveX lecture. This time we will try to configure the React development environment. Let's take a look at what tools are needed when developing a user UI using React. In addition, we will take a look at this time for configuring and executing the actual project once using a tool called Create React App. Shortcut, we call it CRA. First, you will see IDE Integrated Development Environment and Integrated Development Tool. This is software for building applications that combine common developer tools into one GUI. We are going to work on code and project based on an IDE tool called Visual Studio Code. If you have a tool that you're more comfortable using it, such as Atom, which is a document and source code editor for Linux and Windows, or IntelliJ, which is a commercial Java integrated development environment produced by JetBrains, if those are more convenient for you, you can use those. Or other than those two, you can use anything else that will run JavaScript. You can use any other tools. If you want to implement it in the same environment as me, you can download the tool through the URL in this textbook and then install it and use it. Next, you need to install a tool called Node.js, which is a software platform used for network application development. This Node.js provides an environment in which JavaScript can be executed based on the V8 engine. In other words, the existing JavaScript was a language that runs inside the web browser. The language that was translated and executed in the web browser was JavaScript. Among the engines, V8 engine is that translate and execute this JavaScript. Node.js is the one that makes the V8 engine run on server or separate device instead of this web browser. Since the React we will implement is a library based on JavaScript, of course we need an environment in which JavaScript can run. Node.js is required to configure this environment. Therefore, go to the nodejs.org website. In the textbook example, you can see it there, and install node.js as long-term support, which is like warranty for about 2 years, and it is stable version. If you install Node.js, you can use the Node package module called npm included in the Node.js. These languages are based on JavaScript code, and various JavaScript libraries such as React, Vue, and Angular are essential to use npm. npm is a CLI, which is a command line interface, virtual terminal, or text terminal tool. There are many JavaScript modules in the world. Like I said, there's a variety of modules like React.js, React DOM, Angular, Vue, MoveX, and Redux. We need a tool to install and run those modules into the environment that we are going to work on. You can understand that the tool is npm. The JavaScript also manages packages and modules just as a server program uses tools such as Maven, which is a project management tool for Java, or Gradle, which is a Android Studio's official build system to manage libraries to download. There is a tool to do it, but you can understand that it is npm in JavaScript. This npm is included with Node, so if you install node.js, you can use npm as you can see. It would be a little more convenient to understand that it is an upgraded version of NPM, but a tool called Yarn is also a tool to manage this package and module. I will install various tools based on this Yarn later and run applications based on this Yarn. Therefore, you should be able to install Yarn. We will explain the installation of this yarn again after a while as we actually install it. We will use Chrome as the default web browser to develop a program. Other than Chrome, it doesn't matter if you use IE, Firefox, Safari, or any other web browser that I didn't mention. But each browser supports certain functions of this JavaScript or React. For example, there are parts that support and do not support certain functions of ECMAScript 6. Therefore, when I check, there is a possibility that certain examples may not work in IE. So if it's possible, it is better for you to use the same browser, which is Chrome, like me, so that it will work pretty okay. In fact, when you work on a project in this production module, you will need to adjust those parts in the future so that IE, Chrome, and Safari can operate at the same way. When you are ready and download IDE, Node, and web browser, you're ready to have a basic environment for running React. However, in order to create and use an application with this React, you need to additionally use a tool called Webpack. We will explain in the next lecture as we proceed with the program, but we also use the syntax of JSX. React uses XCMA script 6 since the code is implemented as a standard. Turns compile is required with the previous version of XCMA script 5. So, all such settings are proceed through the Webpack, but this Webpack settings is a little bit tricky. So, Facebook provides a CLI tool to configure the React project. That is Create React App, which is shortcut for CRA. So we will proceed with the project based on the CRA with the examples. I will explain about it when we are actually using CRA. First, you need this command line prompt. If you're using Windows, run it using CMD. If you're using a Mac, run a command and configure the same environment as me. In the command prompt, if Node is installed by default, you can type node version node-v to check the node version that was installed. After checking node version, you can also check npm version by typing npm-v. However, if Yarn cannot be installed, there are several ways to install Yarn. For example, if you're installing using a Mac base, you can use Homebrew, or if you're using Windows, you can use a tool called Scope. Since we already have npm by installing code, we can install Yarn using npm. You can use npm install -g and Yarn. It will be installed npm as globally. But since I'm using a Mac, I'm going to use the Homebrew, which is brew install Yarn. Then, since I already installed the Yarn, it will show me I'm already installed it and it's up to date. So you should be able to install the Yarn in the several different ways, And when you look at npm install-g yarn, in the when you see the -g, it means you will set it as globally so that you can use the yarn in any projects. It is important to give the option of -g because if you do not install it as globally, you can use only in certain project that you install the yarn. So when you're done with the installation of the yarn, you can check the yarn version by typing yarn-v. And you can see it's the same version as when Brew showed the installation of the version. Now, by this point, the basic environment in which you can create React project is basically configured. Then we will actually make a Hello React project using CRA. The way to organize a project using CRA was in the past, we used the Create React app was installed as a tool. PM, for example, yarn add create react app. After installing like this, we created a project using the CLI tool called Create React App. Nowadays, NPX, NPM, Yarn all include Create React App CLI, so there is no need to install it separately. So if you say that you will configure a React application project with npm, just type npm init create react app and the name of the project that you're going to make it. If I say hello React, if you type like this and enter, the project will be configured. But since we will mainly use yarn, so if you change to yarn, give the command yarn create react app, then say hello app or hello react for your application and then press enter. Yarn will start to configure the projects. The related libraries will also start to download. Speaking of this related library, basically React.js, including React DOM.js, you can start downloading the libraries through the library dependency right now. And we will proceed with the settings related to it. When this process is over, we made it. And now I'm finished. If you look at the folder, you can see a project called Hello React. If you look at the directory, then you can move this project and actually run it. So now, if I go to Hello React and then start yarn, it will run as the project. Then web browser is based on Chrome, so Chrome appears. And also, we didn't do any coding. The project screen created through CRA is the view will appear on the page like this. If you get to this point, the basic environment configuration is finished. If you look at the terminal, the prompt does not drop. It is being implemented now. It's running right now. So if you open the Visual Studio Code and edit the code, that part will be reflected on the web browser right away. Let's check it. Now, if you look at the contents with Visual Studio Code, this Hello React project you are making and viewing is the project that we created through CRA. In the SRC folder, you can see there are various files were created starting with app.js. Actually, when we make an example or work on this project, we're going to make a structure in the folder in SRC and check the arrangement of the sources. Basically, let's look at this file, and I'm not sure about the app.js, but we are going to change a little bit. So I'm going to remove all this and then have a code h1 saying hello React. And after changing it, I will save the code. And as you can see in the terminal, it was compiled right away. And then after the compiling nation, you can see the actual web page that is immediately reflected when you modify certain code. The part of organizing and doing the project through CRA was a bit quick. From now on, we will create this project frequently as we proceed with the example. We will create it frequently and explain the contents that were not explained in this lecture at the time. I hope you will try to make this once because it is important for you to try and actually follow the step by step and go through this process because we are going to do it a lot with this. We will always repeat it at the beginning, so it is important for you to go through it. I will finish this lecture here. In the next lecture, we will start a full-fledged class while actually configuring the React component. You did a lot of work for this lecture, and I hope you did it really well. I will see you in the next lecture, and thanks for listening to this lecture. Bye!